He has been named North America's next greatest speaker, Sean Smith. And now he's here to teach us the 3 biggest mistakes people make in trying to speak in public. People are freaked out to speak in public, aren't they?
Over 230 million Americans have this speech anxiety. They suffer from it. And I understand it because I did too. But for me, speaking is really about going for a dream. Because when I was 13 years old, I was riding my bike to school one day, and I got run over by a car doing 50 miles an hour.
Dude.
And I flipped over and I blacked out in the air somewhere. And when I came to, I literally had cars coming at me. I mean, I was in the slow lane. And I don't know how I got out of traffic, but I learned that we only get one shot. And we're never promised our next breath. So I made a vow to myself that if I have any dream on my heart, I'm going to go for it. Because when I look back on my life, whether I got the goal or not, I want to be able to say, at least I tried. So being a speaker has always been a dream of mine, and I think we owe it to ourselves to go for our dreams.
Well, so many people are afraid of it. Literally, it's one of the top. I mean, people are afraid of death, and people are afraid of speaking in public.
Speaking, yeah.
And then maybe spiders.
Yeah.
But what is the key? What are some of the things that people that would love to be able to speak? Maybe, you know, they're even afraid to get up at church and say something or whatever. What are some of the tips? Well,
the first mistake that most people make, I call the Judge Judy jail. And that's when you imagine everybody in your audience is judging you, and you're so concerned about their opinions. And if you imagine that everybody in your crowd is like Judge Judy with the little scowl on her face, you know, the gavel, just waiting for you to mess up so she can say, "You're not good enough," right? You're going to freak yourself out. And speaking is not about seeking approval from others. It's about sharing your truth. So don't worry about what they have to think.
Oh, that's easier said than done, but I understand it. You know, they always say picture them in their underwear and things like that.
It depends on who's in the crowd.
Right. Hopefully Judge Judy, yeah, is not. So then what's another tip? What's another mistake?
The second one I call the dumb and dumber disaster. And that's when people speak about something that they don't really have a lot of certainty around, but they pretend that they really know what they're talking about. So they speak with these 25-cent words all intellectually, but their secret fear is that somebody's going to ask them a question that they can't answer. So they feel dumb. And your audience is not stupid. They know that you feel dumb. And when you know that they know that you feel dumb, you feel dumber, right? And it just creates this cycle. It never works out well.
So don't speak on stuff that you have no idea about.
Have some certainty.
Okay,
yes.
So have some certainty. That's number 2. What's number 3?
Number 3, I call the Weekend at Bernie's blunder. Do you remember the Weekend at Bernie's movie, the 2 kids carrying the dead guy around pretending he was alive? A lot of speakers do that. They just show up with no energy. And it's literally, it's like a dead guy with sounds coming out of their mouth. And number 1, it's creepy. But number 2, it's not engaging. When I was competing for North America's Next Greatest Speaker, I actually told this motivational story about going for your dreams and climbing a mountain. But I didn't just narrate the story, I became the story. And so I was limping around and crawling around, and at one point, I actually got down on my stomach and said, if your dreams are big enough, you gotta bite your way to the top. And I was like, ah. And it was silly, but it was memorable, and it was fun. And so I'm not saying that you should be over the top like you're in a speaking competition, but have some kind of energy so that you engage whoever it is you're talking to.
And when you told a story, well, you just told our story about you getting hit on the bicycle, I believe you. You sound like that's a real honest, passionate place. Is that part of the key, too, is being honest? I mean, you can't go and steal your story and then get down to the ground and do stuff. That didn't really happen.
One of the biggest mistakes people make is tell other people's stories. If you tell your stories, they're easier to remember, and you can become the story. You know, speaking is not about transferring information intellectually. It's about transferring emotion energetically. And so when you tell your stories and you can become the story, people will feel it. But if you try to tell somebody else's story that you heard once upon a time, you'll probably mess it up. They'll feel it, and you'll totally disconnect.
Congratulations on that trophy, man. It's incredible, and you're such a vibrant person, and it shows. And
thank you
honestly,
very much.
Vibrant.
Pleasure to be here.
For public speaking tips, get over this fear, and even career advice, we have his information at greatdaygreencountry.com.